Welcome back to the Multifamily Marketers Podcast. I'm Josh Grillo, your host, co-founder here at Resident 360. I'm also joined by my co-host, Caroline Mills. And for today, our topic is rapid fire Q&A, multifamily's most common marketing questions. So Caroline, first and foremost, how are you doing?
Doing good. We were just hearing that you've got some rain out there in San Diego, so you're having a rainy Friday.
It has been raining all week long. I am tired of it. The rain usually doesn't come until like late December time and through January, but this is kind of an early one for us.
Yeah.
So today's topic was something that came up just actually yesterday, I believe. We had a team meeting and Caroline was doing a presentation on some of the products that we have from the digital team. And she had a slide where it was a kind of a Q&A. And a lot of the questions were client-side questions that were common questions that I thought that would make a really good podcast episode. So here we are about a day later, and we kind of put together, how many questions we have here, Caroline? About 12 questions? Is that about right?
Yeah, about 10 to 12 questions, yeah.
About 12 questions. We will try to get to them all, just depending on time and how much time we permit.
Yeah.
And I think this show will be really good for a lot of you that are, have traffic issues, obviously, competitors in the area, and just have, want quick answers to, maybe some of these questions that are right at the top of your head that you're thinking about that you don't have anybody to ask, right? And as an agency in multifamily that does, branding, visualization, websites, and a lot of digital marketing, we've kind of heard it all, right, yeah. Caroline? And we have so many clients that we have heard every question imaginable. So this list is pretty good. And I'm ready to start from the top if you're ready, Caroline.
Let's do it.
All right. Question number 1. We're getting a lot of website traffic, but barely any leads. What are we missing?
This is one where I would recommend definitely SEO and PPC to start. PPC meaning typically you hear about Google ads, but that's pay per click. I'd want to really dive into and kind of look at website, optimization and things like that. But from a services standpoint, we're going to be looking at SEO, PPC for sure, with adding on email nurturing where it makes sense. So definitely want to get SEO for that organic ranking factor. We're adding in PPC, that pay per click, to make sure we're getting in sponsored results. We're showing up on Google right at the top, all those kind of things. And then email nurturing to when we do get those leads in, that we are able to, connect with them, nurture them, get them in for the tours. If we get 20 leads in, but we're able to get 18 tours in, that's a great conversion ratio. So those are the kinds of things I would look at. And those are the 3 services I would absolutely recommend.
Awesome. All right. Number 2. Our competitors always show up before us on Google. How do we get ahead of them? Now, this is the question we get all the time, right?
Oh my gosh, probably at least once a week. Like this is common. Probably the most common question I get is people are above us on Google. How do we beat them? Again, we're going SEO organically. Now, you do want to remember you can listen to some of our SEO episodes. This is a long-term game, but absolutely needed for your community. If you want to get out there and compete organically and not have to spend as much money on your ILSs and different marketing services, definitely make sure you're getting ahead organically on SEO. Then, just like we mentioned, we're going to mention Google ads, pay per click. Those are the things you search. So if you ever search for anything, it could be winter boots, whatever you want it to be. Those first few searches that show up on Google when you're searching or any kind of, device you're using are going to be your sponsored post. How they get at the top of that page is they're bidding more than their competitors to show in front of you when you're typing in those specific keywords. So those are the 2 main things. We have different strategies within SEO, like local SEO, things like that we're going to do. Different keyword strategy that's going to go along with that. But those are going to be the 2 services that are going to get you to the top of search results.
Awesome. All right. Number 3, people in our area don't seem to know we exist. How do we increase awareness locally?
Ooh, getting into a new service here. But geofencing and paid social, these are going to be great ones for this kind of service. Geofencing, we can target specific areas or audiences or competitors or whatever it makes sense in your market for it to be. And so we can actually just flood the market. You're going to get hundreds of thousands of views and you can get thousands of clicks on these. And so we're really flooding the market, to get that brand awareness out there. And then paid social is just, working in tandem with that. Paid social, again, that's going to flood your markets on Facebook, on Instagram, whether you want to get into TikTok or not, but you want to be able to get out there cheaply for a lot of eyes to see. Hopefully if they see you on any one of these platforms, then they're going to Google, then they're searching you. But this is how we get in their eyes the very first time.
What about local SEO for that as well? Should we focus on local SEO? Would that be a service that's recommended?
I think that would be a good one to add, absolutely, where your money makes sense. And when you're talking about awareness, definitely look at your occupancy goals and what you're trying to achieve. Local SEO is only going to assist in that. Again, long-term strategy game, but is absolutely, necessary in helping that kind of thing.
And you mentioned geofencing. For those of listeners we have out there, can you kind of just talk a little bit about, expand on what it actually is?
Yeah, absolutely. So geofencing, you probably hear it thrown around a lot of the place. So whether you like it or not, your phone is sending off hundreds of data points every time you travel somewhere, every time it's pinging off new towers, the kinds of things that you're doing on there, whatever it may be. So when you think those things are listening and they know you went into Dick's Sporting Goods to look at something, they absolutely do know those things. And so what this does is there's different kinds of geographic areas that you can target. So maybe I want to target people who are shopping at, Crabtree Valley Mall here in the area, because I know those kinds of people are going to want to live at my community, which is within walking distance of Crabtree Valley Mall. And so I would target this kind of place. You call what is called literally a geofence, and you're putting that on this, imaginary map in the tech world. And anytime somebody is entering this location and they're searching for the kinds of things that you're serving, they're going to be served your ads. And they can do this very quickly for, cents. For what you're doing, for how many times it gets out there. You can see hundreds of thousands of clicks, depending on your market and what you're trying to aim on. You can do this for competitors. You can do this for, I know we mentioned audiences. So audiences could be like, what is your prospective renter? What are the kinds of things they do around town? What are the things they like to engage in? You can have all sorts of things that you target from these geofencing radiuses that you do.
So it's a very inexpensive way to get a lot of ads out quickly to people in the local area.
Exactly.
All right, moving right along. Number 4. We get tons of inquiries, but no one follows through. How do we keep them engaged?
That's a good one. And one we do often hear a lot too. This is where we're really going to want to throw in some kind of email nurturing system. We can do this. We can do remarketing through email itself, but you can do remarketing through a lot of different services as well. But definitely email nurturing is going to be the main one. You're getting them interested in you. They know you exist. But then how are we getting them in for a tour? We've talked about this in a few other episodes, but renters now require more touch points than they ever have before. The average that RealPage did a study on is around 5.5, touch points before somebody is going to commit to a signed lease. So that means it could take 2 or 3 before we even get them in for a tour the first time. So that's definitely something that you want to be re-engaging, remarketing to, showing back up at the top of their inbox and making sure that we're following up, giving them different options, letting them schedule a tour. And these just assist your teams. Your teams are busy. It's not to replace them, but assist them along with this method.
What about, I don't know if you mentioned it, remarketing ads, retargeting ads, right? Somebody goes to my website, they leave, I kind of follow them around with my ads, right? Is that still a viable, option, a viable strategy?
It can be based on your demographic and what else you're running, other kinds of services. Emails, we can definitely do. You can even get down to if people are opening your emails or clicking certain buttons, we can again hit them in that email nurturing sequence. I think that's a good one because you see that they're actively engaging in something that they would have interest in. Most people aren't going to go open an email, click on floor plans, check availability if they're not a little interested. So I like doing it in those kind of instances. You can do it on Google and you can do it on social. Social, because of the algorithms nowadays, are already going to do it in sense of itself. If you've ever been on social media, you're like, I have seen this ad about these winter boots 17 times already. Leave me alone. And so they already have a little bit of that built into their algorithms. So if you're going to put your money somewhere and you said, okay, I only have one thing, I would put it into, email marketing when you can, followed by Google retargeting.
Makes sense. All right. Great one. Number 5, our occupancy drops every winter. Is there something digital we can do to stay full year round?
This is also a common question and something we're going through right now. It's mid-November, so especially our northern properties in the country are definitely facing this even sooner. Absolutely. Talk with us or your agency or whoever your marketing specialist is on looking at your budgeted occupancy. We kind of went through this in the renewal one too, and setting your marketing budget based on what your occupancy is looking like through the winter months. I know a lot of times we can say, oh, well, it's slow during the winter months. We need to slow down our spend. We need to not do as much. That might actually need to be reversed. Your competitors may be lowering that spend, but you still need to fill occupancy. So by you actually spending a little bit more during the winter than you typically would, those clicks might be a little bit cheaper, the market may be less flooded, and you could actually try and fill that occupancy with who is out there looking to move than, vice versa being the opposite. So definitely you want some kind of seasonal PPC strategy. Talk with your marketing manager and see what the best route is based on it. You can do an always on paid social approach. Like we were talking about, paid social is always going to keep that brand awareness out there and is very inexpensive to do. You can spend $300 to $500 a month on, paid social, and you've got that brand awareness just constantly out there. And then we can always look at email retargeting, like we were just talking about. Maybe these are people that interacted with us a year ago, maybe a few months ago, and we're a new dev. Now we have new buildings open we didn't have open before. So definitely retargeting people who we know, toured with us, were interested with us before. You got a few strategies in there.
All right. Number 6. This is a good one. We're spending money on Google Ads, but I can't tell if it's working. What should I be looking at?
Also a common question I probably hear once a week. So definitely the first part of this is one, understanding and having that PPC education. Feel free to talk to your marketing managers, or if you are the marketing manager, listen on some of our things where we talk about KPIs or things like that. But PPC education, understanding how it works. What is most important for this community? Are we very early on in brand awareness? And so getting those impressions and clicks is exactly what we need because we're 4 months out from our first building opening? Or is it going to be conversion? So taking a look and seeing, one, do you have the right conversions set up? Are you tracking the form fills and that's what is important to you? Or are you tracking video clicks and that's not, what's giving you leads? So check on your conversions, what you're tracking when somebody's interacting with your ad. I love UTM tracking if you have the ability to be able to do that, if your CRM allows it. If you're using a Knock, an Entrata, a Yardi, some big ones out there in the game, they're going to give you different UTM codes. What that means is you've got something special on the end of your URL or your email address. And that basically tells, we put that special URL on your Google Ads. Now, when somebody goes over to your website and clicks that special URL and submits a form, that tells your CRM, okay, this person came from apartments.com. This person came from Google Ads. That makes it a really easy way from your internal systems to be able to do it. But I always kind of preface to people, it depends on your CRM, if they're a first touch point, recording or they're a last touch point recording. So it's not only what's feeding into your CRM and it's not only what your conversions are. You really want to look at this kind of holistically and see. I always told my properties, one of the biggest things is seeing, okay, I've been doing all of my ILS spend. I've been doing all my outreach marketing for 3 months. I want to add in PPC. Okay, let's look at how that changes in total over the next, 60, 90 days. Okay, we increased leads by 70%, and the only thing we changed at the time was PPC. Sure, seasonality, things like that can come into it, but really look at your lead quality and your lead amount as a whole, along with your conversions and what's important for your community.
All right. How you doing over there?
Yeah, that one's a common one and a big one. So I feel like I'm on repeat with that one. I probably just said that in a call like 2 or 3 days ago.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. All right. Moving right along. Hopefully everybody's with us here. Number 7, residents keep saying they didn't know about upcoming events or announcements. How do we improve communication, Caroline?
Definitely email newsletters, resident retention email packages, organic social, all these things that can be free, for you to use at your community. This doesn't have to cost you any money. We offer services and agencies have services to help you with this, but get started with the basics. Understand, your newsletter and what you need to get out. We can't help you send something if we don't know what it's going to be to begin with. So definitely taking that time each month to put those things together. Make sure you're doing it far enough in advance. There's oftentimes I'll see communities post for the first time and it's like, we have an event tomorrow at 5 p.m. And you're like, whoa, you didn't have time to prepare for that. So definitely any kind of email marketing, email newsletters, organic social, like great ways to connect with your residents.
Do you see a lot of properties that actually have email newsletters? Is that a thing?
Yeah. I actually did that when I was on site. We would do it different ways. And so we had a whole newsletter. Oh my gosh, what did we have? We had some fun name for it, station stories. I don't know, something, some alliteration for it, but it was fun. We had a little meet the team section. We had, notices we wanted to get out, make sure you're picking up your trash, that kind of stuff. And then we would have our events each month. We would print some out, put them around the community. We would email them out and we would post on social media. And you will find that you get a lot more interaction and your residents are more engaged.
Oh, that's really cool. So was that like a monthly newsletter you guys did?
It was, and they would look for it too. Like we had probably a little bit older of a population at my first community. And so they were so excited. Like if we did not have that sent out by the end of, the first of that month, they're coming in the office the next day. They're like, where's the newsletter? What's the events this month? So like everybody really expected it.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. All right, let's see here. We are at the 15-minute mark, and let's continue on. We got like four or five more questions I want to try to get through here if we can. So number 8, I want more qualified traffic, not just anyone clicking. Can marketing help with that?
Absolutely. The best one here is going to be PPC targeting. We can target geolocation. We can put on negative keywords. Geofencing audiences is another great one, like we talked about earlier. And then just making sure your SEO is aligned. So a few different services you can add in here, but that is absolutely possible. It doesn't have to be everybody out there.
Beautiful. Number 9, we're launching a brand new community. What should we prioritize in the first 90 days?
I feel like we have a good one on this. Maybe it was like episode 2 or 3. We also talk about lease ups in 90 days. So that one's a little bit more in depth, but you're looking at full service here. I mean, you were going all in. Now, how you do that and based on your timeline can vary, but I mean, you're looking at SEO setup, getting ahead of that game, launching your PPC, getting your geofencing in place, getting your organic strategy going, getting your paid social strategy going, and of course, email for all the reasons we spoke about today.
Yeah, I was going to say, how important is email marketing for a new lease up?
Very, very important. I mean, sometimes that's the only way that someone's going to have any interaction with your community. You may have a landing page with one paragraph and then sign up for our VIP list. Get them on the VIP list. You can start emailing. I mean, I've seen it as early as 12 months out from a building opening. I mean, like this could be just in the naming process, but we find that prospects really like it and are really engaged. I mean, we see between like 50, 60% open rates on these. You're announcing like, hey, our windows just went in today. Look at how exciting this is. Stop by for a hard hat tour. And so we do find a lot of engagement in those. And yeah, very cheap to start very early on.
Awesome. Number 10, we boosted a few posts on Facebook, but nothing happened. Are we doing something wrong?
I see. I probably get this one every now and then too. So yeah, I bet you hear paid social and like, what does that mean? I can boost my own post all I want. Those are completely separate tactics and completely separate services. So boosted post is like you are truly just taking that post, putting a little bit of money into it, and it's just going to recirculate it on your feed and like those things that are interested, people that might click it. Paid social, I mean, you're going into the strategy. You've got radiuses you're using. You've got, headlines, descriptions, call to actions. Like this is going to be a lot more interactive and like what we're trying to do to get people to go to your website, not just recirculating a post. So yeah, you're not going to get leads from boosted posts necessarily. That's not going to be the same kind of budget and the same tactics that go into actual paid social like you hear. I mean, there's audience strategy, there's objectives, there's a lot that goes into that.
All right. Number 11, why do all these marketing channels matter? Can't we just do one?
I think we have one of your favorite phrases here, Josh, is an omni-channel approach or a multi-channel approach.
I like the be everywhere strategy.
Yeah. We've talked about this a few times.
Budget allows, be everywhere.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, you hear the phrase, you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. That is absolutely true, even with digital strategy. You don't want to just go for PPC and never look at your SEO. You don't want to just go for ILS and again, never look at SEO, never look at PPC, never be on social media. So we're big proponents of, omni-channel and multi-channel approaches here, but you definitely don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. And, if you're new to that market, markets can vary, residents can vary, demographic can vary. Like you really need to get a good feel for it. And you do, especially, oh my gosh, lease ups, want to flood the market with everything you can.
Awesome. All right. Our final question, number 12. We made it. We want more tour conversions. What's the fastest way to make that happen? Whoa, big one.
Yeah. And this is often when they do come to us quickly and like need occupancy by a certain time, need refinancing by a certain time. This is going to be your PPC high intent keywords is going to be the quickest and fastest way to do that. Like we said, we can put in negatives, we can put in geo-targeting, we can do retargeting on what you already have. Again, then there's geofencing, like we talked about earlier. Flood the market for a pretty cheap cost. Get all your ads out there in front of people. And then your Google My Business optimization. That's not one we always touch on, but as a part of SEO, that's going to be a great one that, okay, you're showing up on Google. Are we saying the right things? Do we have the right hours? We've got so many episodes on Google My Business optimizations out there that are super helpful. But you're going to want to hit those things very fast to get in the best possible leads that you can, the quickest you can. But PPC, high intent keywords, strategizing your campaigns, that's going to be the best way.
And then when I say the word tour conversions, the second part of that would be on site, right? Like what's happening on site when these leads come in the door. Now, we could drive the traffic all day long, right? We could figure that part out. But what happens when those phone calls come in? What happens when those email forms come in? What happens when those people step foot in your property and they actually go on a tour, right? Like what happens next, right? So can you just like spend like 1 to 2 minutes on that really quickly and then we'll wrap on this episode?
Yeah, a lot of strategy. And I think we can think that from marketing a lot of times, like whether you're on the corporate side or agency side of saying, okay, well, I sent you the leads, like that's what I'm supposed to do. But one, there is a lot of quality behind that. I can send you 700 leads, but are they quality leads? Like, are they showing up for a tour? Okay, they did show up for tours. Now what? I think one, also preparing your teams for it. I have seen it happen, and this is no joke, of, prefacing and telling a team and a regional manager, okay, we can up your budget by another $3,000, but like, is your team ready for that? And like, yeah, sure, they're ready for that. Okay, we sent in, and I mean, within, 2 weeks, we had 200 leads. I mean, they flooded in, and these people were all, I logged into the system, they were all wanting tours, they're calling, they're doing all these things. The team was overwhelmed. So we had to pull back on some other marketing sources because we saw this was working, but prepping your team, making sure they know how to close on these, making sure they know the value of getting them in for a tour. And then I would say from a marketing standpoint, once they're in for a tour from that standpoint, then that's on their sales and being able to close it. But, from marketing, we talk about curb appeal. We talk about all the things once they get there. There's a little bit we can help with, and so we at least know what's going on. But definitely strategy behind your closing techniques, what you're trying to sell, making sure your team's ready and prepared for that. And, having those good closing sales tactics. And if they're not, then having retargeting in place, like we said, with email marketing, making sure we're following up and doing all those things.
Absolutely. That's awesome. All right. Let's see. We're right at the 22-minute mark. I think we'll call a wrap on this rapid fire Q&A today. As always, Caroline, you are amazing. Tons of value. At least I learned a few different things there, and I appreciate you sharing once again. And for everybody out there, if you like the show, please share it with your team, your staff. Make sure they all know about it as well. And we will see you next week with another episode of the Multifamily Marketers Podcast. Take care, everybody. Bye, Caroline. Have a great day.
Thank you, guys. Bye.